Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got two replays in the Soviet Tier 10 Premium Heavy Tank, the OBJ 279e. Now this is a tank that everybody that completed the year earn-up thing that they did around 6.0 got for free, and it has changed since then. But this is one that, yeah, a lot of people got for free, and then it basically didn't ever come back. So I think it came back at some point last year, so I was told, but I can't remember pinpoint. And so this is probably the second time it's ever come back on sale. And is it a good tank? I think it is. I think it's a pretty damn good tank now. I mean, when they released it, I think it was okay, but it had a lot of flaws that were really, really irritating. And with the buffs they gave it, with the Blitzkrieg buffs that they did, Blitzkrieg Tanks Reforged, whatever they called it, it was a long time. I mean, we're talking this like, what, a year and a half, 2 years ago now, that Blitzkrieg buff, set of buffs? They buffed so many tanks, though, in that it's hard to keep up with everything that they did, and this 279e was one of those. But yeah, it is, at the time of this video, it's back on sale again. I think it's 16,000 gold, something like that, which is far too much money for any tank in this game. Far, far too much money. Like, yeah, don't spend that much money. Again, I'm a big proponent of, if you have that sort of gold to spend and you want to spend it, get a bundle of tanks where you're paying like 50% off for 3 tanks and you get 3 tanks for that sort of money or something like that, and get, you know, with a pretty decent bundle. And I mean, if you're looking at World War II tanks, like for a similar price, you could pick up something like the Crimson Steel tanks, which are the Hydra IS-6, the Monitor KV5 and the Ragnarok, because they all make absolutely fantastic silver. They're pretty fun to play, apart from the fact that they're tier 8, and obviously tier 8 matchmaking's a bit garbo at the best of times. But you get my point. Or if you play Cold War, there's also Cold War vehicles. You get 2 or 3 Cold War vehicles for that sort of price, and they make ridiculous silver as well, and you can have some fun with those. So 16,000 gold is a lot. But if you have the money and you want to buy that tier 10 premium that is the 279e, what is it all about? Well, the 279e is a funky tank because the armor layout is funky, and that is because you don't have a lower plate. It doesn't really stick to conventions of a lot of the armor. You don't have a lower plate because the lower bit is all track, and they will only track you and not pen you in that regard. The armor is pretty thick to standard rounds, but as soon as premium starts going in from tier 10s, you're talking like, what, 310, 320, 330, 340 pen heat APCR, that will start to go through your tank. And that will be awkward. But it's all about the angles of the 279e. So you're going to see it in this game and in the next replay, how to use the armor of the 279e. If you can be on a ridgeline and you can point the tank up, that is the perfect thing to do, because it accentuates the armor and it basically makes it nigh on impenetrable at some points and makes it absolutely crazy. Now, is this tank the behemoth that it is on PC? No, it's not, because it's nutty on PC. And that's because the armor is thicker on PC. I'm not quite sure how much thicker, but it is thicker. We got like the second iteration of their test server version of the 279e or something like that, and so the armor was actually worse than they released it. So when you see that, oh my god, it's a 279e on PC, for example, the armor isn't quite as good on our version, so it's not quite as strong. It's still ridiculously good though, because if you have it frontally on like this, most of the time, tier 9s and 10s will have to fight premium to go through your upper plate. And for the most part, that means tier 8s are boned. And a lot of the tier 8s will really struggle to pen your armor, which means it's a bit of a tier 8 stomper in that regard. The one thing it does suffer with a little bit is that the ammo rack is weak on the 279e. So if they pen you, and that's because it's behind the 2 left and right hand sides of the upper plate. So if someone basically shoots you in the side, they generally, or through the cheeks sides, awkward to describe what I mean, but you get the point. On the upper plate, they will damage your ammo rack, and the amount of times I've had my head popped in this tank is crazy. It does get its ammo rack popped a lot, so it's something to bear in mind. But yeah, the armor is best on a ridgeline where you can keep it pointing up, and it makes it incredibly difficult for people to pen you. And if you play it right, this tank can be just absolutely phenomenal. And especially, like I say, with the buffs that they gave to the gun handling and all that sort of stuff, it made it really, really nice. So what did they buff? Well, they buffed the terrain resistances on the chassis, they buffed the hull rotation from 26 to 30, they buffed the accuracy during movement and rotation from 0.22 to 0.18, reload from 12.6 to 11.5, aim time from 2.6 to 2.3, and accuracy from 0.38 to 0.36. Now that made the gun handling and the DPM far, far better on the 279e than when it was first released, because to be honest with you, pre 6.0 when this thing was released, the the gun handling was awful. It was horrible. It just liked to miss. It was one of those tanks that you'd aim, and then you'd miss. And then someone would just butter you with a premium round, and then you'd be ammo-racked, and you wouldn't be able to do too much. That happened a lot for the 279e, and like I say, the thing is, you tended to get your ammo rack popped as well, which was awkward. And just that those buffs made this tank so much nicer. You see, you've got an 8.4 second reload, which is damn nice for 440 alpha. The accuracy is pretty damn nice. The mobility is okay for, well, it's pretty good for a heavy tank, really, going at nearly 40 kilometers an hour. It's just a pretty damn good solid tank now. So what do I run in terms of a crew? Well, in terms of a crew on the 279e, I run Born Leader, Rapid Reload, Sixth Sense, Situational Awareness, Trap Mechanic, Clutch Braking, Steady Aim, Snapshot, Run and Gun. The 3 gun perks because you want to make your gun as good as possible. Clutch Braking to make it so that I can keep my armor pointing forward as much as I humanly can do, because you want to keep your armor pointing directly at someone, because that's at its best then. And yeah, all the other perks, because that's generally what you take. In terms of equipment, I run the advanced loader, the vertical stabilizers, and optics. Optics to spot for myself, vertical stabilizer to make my gun as good as possible, and the advanced loader to make my DPM 10% better, as always. And as you can see, this first game, we finished the victory, 7k damage, 1300 assistance, the ace tanker, the high caliber, the steel wall, 1695 base XP. A pretty damn nice game for the 279e, on a pretty nice map for it, because as you saw, what we did is we basically got up in people's faces, because that's what this tank wants to do, and kept ourselves in a position where our armour was angled up, and it made it so that the angles were ridiculous, and it made it very difficult for the enemy teams to be able to pen us. So by doing that, well, really, in that game, we didn't face too much that was going to easily pen us, and the tank that we did, which was the 60 TP, if it was firing heat, we made sure we got rid of. And then we could have fun, really. Because obviously this tank does only have, like, 5 degrees of gun depression, is it, on this tank? Which means that, yeah, truly, on a ridgeline, naturally, it's very, very Soviet, which it's not going to be able to use a ridgeline too well. But as you saw, what I basically did was pointed myself up in the air, so I couldn't really shoot them, and then just basically, shoot me, bro. I just basically went, shoot me, bro. Waited for them to shoot. The moment they fired is the moment that I pushed forward a little bit and then shot them back, right? And after we'd bounced their shots. It's all about baiting them to shoot the strongest bit of your armor and then using your pretty decent gun to your best capacity. Because like I say, that's the one thing that this tank pre 6.0 was horrible for, was just the gun handling just wasn't good enough. And then add to that everyone tended to butcher your armor with premium rounds. It was just it was pretty frustrating to use. And like I say, the ammo rack going all the time also was pretty frustrating. But with those buffs to the gun handling and how damn nice this gun is now and how nice the reload is, and just the general stuff that pre 6.0, well, the new 6.0 crew system and stuff basically gave to this tank, it's a pretty damn solid tier 10 heavy tank. And it's one of those again, right, where if you come against someone that's a bit unsuspecting and hasn't got a clue what to do against you, you're just going to absolutely whale stomp them because, well, you're just going to curb stomp them because they just haven't got a clue how to pen you. And they really do have to know how to pen you, because shooting them, because basically, if you're facing this tank in a tier 9 or 10, you have to have premium loaded, number one, and then you have to shoot the flattest bit of armor that is facing you. So that will always change depending on how the 279e is facing you or looking at you, you know. So the weakest part of the armor on the front when it's facing you is always changing, which is why you just wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. Do, 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 do. You know, just keep that in mind. Just keep wiggling. Just keep wiggling. Just keep wiggling. Just keep wiggling. And your arm will bounce a lot of shells. And as you're seeing so far, we're on a flat on Pilsen here. And we're still bouncing a fair few. We're bouncing Grilla heat round. We did get penned by the Grilla because we gave him too much side a minute ago, though. But we're bouncing a lot of shells. And like I said, this is what the 279e armor does. And it does occasionally, And I will say it's one of those tanks for me that I go, well, we have exactly what's happening here, where the armour goes, I like working, I will bounce all the shots for you, friend. And then all of a sudden it's like, pen, 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 armour gone, dead. And you're like, God damn it. It's one of those tanks. So this second game, we're on Pilsen, and we're on to 3,000 damage. We've blocked 3.5k with 1,100 assistance. With an extra shot, we're just on to that AVRE. Unfortunately, that's an AVRE, and the AVRE does not care about our armour whatsoever. Not at all. It does not care one iota, and he ended up hitting us for about 600 and damaged our ammo rack. I take the opportunity to drive around and shoot the AVRE because I still felt like I might reload quicker than him, and I thought, you know what, I want to get rid of this AVRE because it's a pain in the ass. And unfortunately, the bit that everyone says to shoot the turret, we bounced, and he managed to get another shot into us for about 400-500, because that's just what the AVRE does, right? It's pretty consistent. We go for that side track, though, as it gives us a little bit too much side armour, and thankfully we shut down the AVRE before he gets another shot in. We're only down to 652 hit points, so we do have to be very careful. There is still a lot of the enemy team left. We've blocked 3.8k damage so far. We've done 3.7k damage, 1,400 assistance. I'm just trying to poke out to see if we can get a shot at someone. Well, I was thinking maybe I could get a shot at the CS63, but I couldn't quite get round to that far to get a shot. We do get a nice shot though into the Panzerwagen, who was attacking our TD. He's going to end up driving out in front of us, so we're just making sure we lead the shot. And unfortunately, we did lead the shot, but we didn't pen the light tank. We only did track damage. Now this 13105 is coming in, and he's clearly going around this TD. Well, actually, he's not. He's coming actually round to where I am. So we get a shot into the 13105. I'm backing up to keep my back to the wall. Again, keeping my armour facing him as frontally as possible, so it's making it, because if he's firing standard, he's not going to pen me from the front. He has to get round my side. The 279e is one of those that you really have to watch what you're doing with the armour. You really have to be careful, because if you over-angle even the slightest bit, it's pretty easy to pen in the little lipped sides. And again, if they shoot you in those lipped sides, if you angle a little bit too much, they will damage your ammo rack, and that makes your game really painful. So you really have to be careful what you're doing with the armour. It's all about how you angle it, the 279e, all about that, and then just keep working them over with this gun. So you can see we just keep poking to see if we can get any shots at people. We get a shot through the Skoda T50 there. We're up to 5.2k damage, a 2.2k assist. We see this AVRE. We get a shot through his side because, once again, get rid of the AVRE. The Murat managed to shut down the AVRE, and we're just being very, very careful of the Gorilla that is over there, because that Gorilla can kill us in one shot, and because he has good pen on his heat rounds, he also is a tank that is very, very dangerous to me. How that shot penned, I'll never know. Thank you, RNG. We'll take it. I don't know. It just penned, alright? And it's probably because we've got... Was that AP? That might have even been the last round of AP as well. That might not even just been the heat round. But anyway, we are looking for the shot into the E50M. Unfortunately, this shot doesn't go into the lower plate, but it does track the E50M, so we get a little bit more assistance on that guy, which is decent. And you can see I'm still being hesitant. There is still a lot of tanks left on this enemy team, and I don't want to get shut down at this point. So we poke around the corner, find the Tyran. We get a shot into the Tyran that tracks and damages him. We're up to 6.4k damage, and now we know that right-hand side is clear. I was just watching that gap because I thought, is that guy really going to cross? And he did. We shut down the Skoda T50 there with a shell, and I decided, okay, you know what, I might just push. But we spot the 50B, so we get a shot through the 50B's turret. I want to get to that ridgeline directly in front of me where the 60TP is, and I'm just itching to get there. We poke around the corner. We get very fortunate there that that Tyran doesn't end up shutting us down. But now the Tyran's fired, I'm thinking, do I go? Well, we've reloaded the gun. We get the shot in to shut down the 50B. There's only 3 tanks left. There's the 2 heavy tanks that are both at A7. And then there is the Tyran. And I'm thinking, right, okay, I'm reloaded. Screw it. We're going to push forward, get under this ridge behind the Tyran's, underneath the Tyran's gun. And then he just YOLOs up and gets a shot at us, snaps the shot in, and thankfully he doesn't shut us down. He only does track damage, and the Tyran gets shut down by the Centauro. And we can't quite get there to get shots into the VZ or the mouse, and we finished the game with a really nice total for the 279e. We finished with the victory, 4 kills, nearly 7.8k damage, 2.6k assistance, ace tanker, the high caliber Confederate, the steel wall, the cool headed, 1843 base XP, a really nice game for the tank, 4.4k as well, pretty damn nice. 279e, it's a pretty damn nice tier 10 heavy tank. It has Amarak problems, but it's a pretty damn nice tank, and it's definitely, the thing is, it's definitely a tier 8 stomper, but once you're coming against tanks that have like that 20, 30, 40 heat pen, APCR pen, the armor does start to become a bit like cheese. Although, wiggle, and RNG will save you. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!